I have a rabbinic colleague who once worked in a community where the Orthodox community was very strong. This was in Australia, where he had a pulpit. Reform Judaism was almost negligible. Not only that, but the Orthodox community was very critical of Reform Judaism. In the local Jewish newspaper, one of the Orthodox rabbis wrote a column criticizing Reform Judaism by saying that Reform Jews make stuff up. My rabbinic colleague joyfully took the bait and wrote a rebuttal. In the rebuttal, he proudly embraced the fact that Reform Jews make stuff up. Since we are happy to modify traditional Jewish practice to make it more relevant. The strength of Reform Judaism is that we make stuff up. The fact of the matter is the strength of all forms of Judaism, whether the Judaism of the Bible or the Judaism of later rabbinic interpreters, Orthodox, Reform, it's really just a difference of speed between Orthodox and Reform, where Orthodox is much, 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 much slower. The heart of Judaism has always been a creative response to present-day needs. We need to look no further than the book of Deuteronomy, which, as I said, we start reading the Shabbat, to see this creative energy at work. Much of the book of Deuteronomy is a repetition of stories and laws that we already read about in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. The word Deuteronomy in Greek means second law. In other words, even that'd be the Greek translators of the Septuagint recognize that in a sense it was a repetition. So why do the biblical writers and editors repeat these sections? We would think that once is enough. One reason is that the writers of Deuteronomy and these later editors of the Torah saw Deuteronomy as a chance to renew and even change the Torah's laws. In its way, Deuteronomy is a very Reformed Jewish text. It shows a tremendous amount of legal innovation. It's willing to change laws to meet new circumstances. Torah law is not stagnant, according to the Deuteronomists. Rather, it demands reinvigoration with each new generation. And it sounds like Reformed Jews weren't the first Jews to make stuff up. This same creative impulse is perhaps nowhere more visible than in the observance of Passover. In the Torah, Passover begins as a family sacrifice. Each household slaughters a lamb, marks the doorposts of their house with its blood, roasts the meat over fire, and eats it in haste, dressed for a journey. It's not the carefully choreographed evening that we know as the Seder today, but really more like a ritual barbecue. Yet even within the Bible, the Passover changes. Deuteronomy moves the sacrifice from individual homes to the central sanctuary, reshaping the festival to fit a new religious reality. That's one of the big moves that the Deuteronomist does. It wants to put everything into the temple. It wants everything centralized. Why? Jews all over the land of Israel are doing stuff that the Deuteronomists don't like, and if they move it into the central temple, they can be observed, essentially. Should I digress? I love digressing. I will digress. I have a friend who lived in the Orthodox community who moved into a non-Orthodox neighborhood, and I asked him why, and he said, "I'm tired of Mrs. Rosenbaum always looking in my shopping cart." Essentially, observation within traditional communities is part of everyday life. The Torah itself demonstrates that sacred traditions can evolve while remaining faithful to their purpose. This transformation becomes even more dramatic after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE. The Passover sacrifice could no longer be offered because there is no temple. At that moment, the rabbis faced a challenge. They could have mourned the loss of the festival and allowed it to fade into memory. Instead, they did what Jews have done throughout history. They reinvented it. I mean, this is a complete reinvention, much more than what Reform Jews have done. The Mishnah, especially in the 10th chapter of Pesachim, takes the holy day that was once centered on sacrificing and eating a lamb and transforms it into a Greco-Roman symposium, the Passover Seder. The focus shifts from altar to table, from priest to families, from offering an animal to telling a story. Questions replace ritual slaughter as the centerpiece of the evening. The rabbis require that children ask, that parents explain, and that every participant see themselves as if they personally had come out of Egypt. The meal becomes a vehicle for education. The symbolic foods, the matzah, maror, and charoset, do not replace the Exodus, they observe it in a new way. Even the cups of wine, which we drink reclining, and the order of the evening are rabbinic creations designed to cultivate an appreciation for freedom. The genius of the Mishnah was not that it abandoned Passover, but that it preserved its essential message by radically changing its form. The holiday survived because the rabbis were willing to make stuff up. One of the clearest examples of this process in some of our lifetimes is the addition of an orange to the Seder plate. For centuries, the Seder plate contained a fixed collection of symbolic foods. Then in the 1980s, the Jewish feminist scholar Susanna Heschel introduced the orange as a symbol. Contrary to popular legend, it was not originally meant to represent the inclusion of LGBTQ Jews. Heschel created it as a response to the exclusion of women from religious leadership and participation. She invited participants to eat the orange and to spit out the seeds. It's a way to reject sexism while embracing the sweetness of welcoming the entire Jewish people into religious life. And over time, many Jews came to understand the orange as representing the inclusion of all those who have too often found themselves on the margins of Jewish life. LGBTQ Jews, interfaith families, converts, and others were once questioned about their places at the Passover Seder. Whether one adopts the orange or not, its appearance on the Seder plate is another reminder that Judaism has never been frozen in time. Just as Deuteronomy reshaped the Torah for a new generation, and the Mishnah transformed the Passover sacrifice into the Seder, contemporary Jews continue to add symbols that help ancient rituals speak to the moral and spiritual challenges of our own time. So let's go back to that newspaper column. The Orthodox rabbi accused Reform Jews of making stuff up. And my colleague happily pleaded guilty. The irony, of course, is that this is exactly how Judaism, no matter what the time period, has always survived. Judaism not only accepts change, it demands it. We must continue that work by finding new ways to ensure that our oldest rituals speak to the moral demands of our own time. The question, then, is not whether Judaism changes, it always has. The real question is how we change it. Do we do so carelessly, or do we do so with reverence for the tradition that we've inherited? Do our innovations deepen our connection to Torah, to the Jewish people, and to God? Do they make Judaism more capable of bringing justice and compassion into the world? That has always been the Jewish task. We inherit a tradition that's ancient but never out of date. Every generation receives it, wrestles with it, and then passes it on to the next one. We do not preserve Judaism by placing it behind glass. We preserve it by living it, arguing with it, and when the moment demands it, making stuff up. Through this process, the eternal truths of our tradition can continue to guide an ever-changing world. Shabbat Shalom.